taking a video of myself.
Don't you feel embarrassed?
I should. So here's the thing. I've seen people come in. I've seen how they get better as speakers. I've seen how they get better at table topics. The one area that I see a lot of people struggling, especially at non-advanced clubs, is evaluations. I feel like a lot of people really don't know how to go from being a good evaluator to being a great evaluator, which is why I thought I would. Yes, I know Harry would know. In fact, I gotta preface this whole speech by saying I'm not a district champion. I won a division contest, but Harry here is a district evaluation contest winner. So Harry, I hope one day you'll do your own version of this speech. I would love to hear your tips. But for now, let me share with you some of the tips that I've learned over the last 15 years of my Toastmasters life. Now, the first thing that I find really helps in an evaluation is to just break the ice. When someone has just given a speech, they're feeling nervous. No one likes being critiqued or hearing criticisms about themselves, so they're a little bit nervous. So when you come up here, put on a big smile on your face and really just break the ice and talk about something that's going to make them feel comfortable and at ease. Now, the next thing you can do after that is just positive reaffirmations. Here's a little side story or a little tangent. When you talk to pet trainers, the number one thing they tell you, if you want a pet that behaves well and does what you want them to do, positive reinforcement. Find something they've done well and tell them, hey, you did a really good job with this. Especially if you know them, if you've seen them over the last couple months and you know that this is an area that they've struggled with and they're not good, but they've made progress, call it out. Tell them, hey, I know that you really struggled with eye contact, but today you really made an effort and that was a good job. Positive reaffirmation will make them realize that they are on the right track and they will continue doing it. Now, another thing that I find really, really helps me, just taking notes. I don't know about you guys, I have an awful memory, and what I find is that taking very detailed notes helps me immensely in delivering good evaluations. So take down notes, write down what they said for the opening, write down what their conclusion was. When you have, if there's some feedback that you want to give them, write down very detailed notes about exactly what they said to trigger that feedback. This will make evaluation less abstract and a little bit more details, and they can really relate to it. Now, let's get to some stuff that no one really likes, constructive criticism. This is a tricky thing. It's very hard to criticize someone, even if it's in a constructive manner.
But you're embarrassing the person.
You're absolutely right. You're embarrassing the person. Now, I should just, it's my fault for not saying this before. I'll definitely take questions at the end of the speech. But as you absolutely pointed out, you can embarrass the person, which is why a lot of people shy away from it. Now, for those of you who were here 1 month ago, you may remember this exercise that we did where we talked about what brings us to Toastmasters. And the number one thing that most people said, they talked about how they want to grow using effective evaluations. They want to learn how to get better.
It's the refreshments that brings you to Toastmasters.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The number one thing is the refreshments that brings you. Okay, I mean...
You know what? We're all here for different reasons. But I'll be more than happy to talk to you about this later on.
We don't have any refreshments
But
tonight.
I'm sorry, did I miss something?
Nothing. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
They're flirting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. We just
I'll tell the
having a
spouses.
conversation. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apology accepted, no problem. Now, a lot of people are here for Toastmasters because they want to learn how to get better, and they really want effective evaluations to help them get better, which is why you really have to challenge yourself to overcome the fear of embarrassing the person. I'm sorry, is there something?
No, I'm sorry.
The flirtation continues.
Maybe if you guys need some time,
Yeah.
maybe if you could go outside and finish the conversation. Once
Okay.
you're ready, you could come
All
back
right.
in.
Okay,
don't
I'm
be
Okay,
sorry.
that's great.
Okay, good.
No problem. Now, one more thing that I want to say on the topic of constructive criticism. Most people don't do this. I've seen a few people do this where they go overboard. They give a laundry list of 10 things that they can work on. Do more eye contact, do more body language, have a little bit more vocal writing. It really helps to realize that most people can only process 2 or 3 changes at once. So really, even though you identify 10 things that may need some improvements, really trim it down. Ask yourself, what is the 2 or maybe 3 things that would really make an impact? What are the 2 things that this person could really benefit from? And focus on those. And that doesn't mean just say 1, 2, done. Really go into the details. Give details on how those 2 things are impactful and what they can do better. So this way you can really focus on giving them good constructive feedback, but at the same time giving them a sizable chunk so that they can improve on it. Now, the last thing that I want to mention is probably something that I see most evaluators actually doing, which is bridging the gap between the speech to the speaker. Now, sometimes I would give a speech and I would tell my evaluator, hey, this I'm sorry, is there something?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to talk to
You're
you
the one.
after the speech is over.
What are you, slow?
Yeah, I just. this in public or work or with my wife? Where do I apply this?
That's a good question. You would apply this in many places. Giving effective evaluations is a very vital skill in the workplace, in your personal life, when you're raising your kids, and even when you're interacting with your friends. And I'd be happy to talk to you one-on-one after the speech is over. But going back to bridging the gap between the speech to the speaker. A lot of times I have a speech that I'm going to be giving again in the future, and I would tell my evaluator, hey, I'm going to give this speech again in the future, please give me some feedback on this speech. But guess what? Most of the time when I'm here at Toastmasters, I give a speech, and I'm never going to give that speech again. So as an evaluator, if you're telling that person how to do a better job with that speech, you're not really helping that person become a better speaker. As an evaluator, your primary job is not to help improve the speech, you're there to improve the speaker. So really direct your feedback on how do you help the person improve as a speaker, not just improve that one very specific speech. Now, one tool that I find that really helps me with this is to figure out, okay, I have identified something they could have done better. What is the bearing of this factor on their speech? Is this really relevant? Let me give you maybe an example. Let's say during my speech, I mentioned that Toronto is the capital of Canada. I'm sure as an evaluator that you're going to be thinking to yourself, Toronto is not the capital of Canada. Of course I'm going to bring that up. But then take a step back and ask yourself, is that relevant to the speech?
Of course it is.
Sure, let me answer that. Let's say, for example, in some type of speeches, it is relevant. But then, let's say I'm giving us a humorous speech, for example. If my job is to entertain the audience and I'm telling a bunch of jokes and I'm just telling a story about the time I was in Canada, does it really matter if I made a trivia mistake in the course of a humor speech? Probably not.
Then you
And
object.
more,
You object.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I just want to finish this in time, and I want to make sure I get through everything. But I will definitely get back to you, and we can have a conversation about this later. Now, if I'm giving a humorous speech, and if I make a trivia mistake, is that really relevant to the speech? Probably not. So maybe you could hold off on giving feedback because sure, that may improve the speech, but it's not really going to help me as a speaker in the future. But let's say, for example, I'm giving a speech where my goal is to inform and persuade the audience. And then I make a trivia mistake like calling Toronto the capital of Canada when it's really not. Here's what you can do as a evaluator. You can say, hey, your goal is to inform the audience and to persuade the audience. And in order to do that, you need credibility. And when you make a mistake, like for example, calling Toronto the capital of Canada, you're losing the credibility of your audience. And this is helping you not achieve your speech objectives. So in this way, I would recommend that in future, when you're giving a speech trying to inform the audience, really focus on doing the due diligence so that the audience has no reason to doubt you. So when you're about to give feedback, really focus on what is the principle, why is this feedback going to help this person as a speaker, and then give the very detailed example of, okay, here's a specific example of how this principle can be used to help you be a better speaker. Giving effective evaluations is tough, and it can be scary. And it's very hard to do it, to give someone constructive criticism without, like you said, embarrassing them or hurting their feelings. But we all know what people want. We all were here during Table Topics a month ago. People talk about how they really want more feedback. They really want to learn how to get better. And so this is an absolutely vital skill to answer your question in Toastmasters, in your career, and in your family. Thank you.